Hi, teenagers and young adults. This is the second chapter of my book, Catechism for Youth, and the chapter is named Science Opinion on the Meaning of Life. There is no meaning. The universe only follows certain laws of nature. This has led to the existence of the planet Earth at the moment. Here, life has arisen like a virus. It reproduces itself with small differences. All the time, those who can do best will survive, and through a long process it has so far ended up with us human animals. On another planet with different conditions, it ends up with something completely different, namely what is best suited there. That is, there is no point in it. There is nothing we can call good or evil or purpose. When I say that the cancer that wants to eat me alive is evil, then the cancer cells might as well call the doctor who wants to kill them evil. Both I and the cancer cells are random results of the laws of nature. That's why, in the opinion of science, I'm not good and the cancer isn't bad. And there is no God except as a designation, a title for the X that cannot yet be explained. And X is absolutely not a personal God who has any relationship to me, a random object in the big universe. One day the unexplained X will be revealed by science, and then God will finally be put to death. Thank God, I am tempted to say. It is all logical and must therefore be true. But science has a weak point. We can't even know what is true. Everything, including a human being, including you and me, is programmed and governed by the laws of nature. Even a scientist is a slave to the laws of nature. He is a search program controlled by the control systems of the laws of nature in the universe's large computer, we could call it. Therefore, he does not know if he can find all the websites of the universe, and if he can read them and process them correctly. And how does his own program affect everything? A small virus file can disturb a lot. Things go completely wrong when we humans want to examine ourselves, why we are the way we are and why we do what we do. Then it goes completely into self-spin. There is no guarantee at all that we are programmed to make head and tail of ourselves. Of course, great scientists have realized this a long time ago. We ourselves are trapped by the laws of nature we want to reveal. We ourselves are part of the universe we want to investigate. If I could get outside the universe, I could figure it all out, and that is the same as being the God that science does not recognize. All that does not make all science a lie. Science works. When I press the switch, the electric light turns on. Even though humans are just a search program that can only read what we are programmed to read, the program still works. We can read something that makes sense, and we can also read so much that we can become smarter and can discover even more. But we never get outside the great computer of the universe, outside the universe. Science sees everything from the only point of view from which we can see anything, namely from the tip of our own noses. Science is reality as it is for us, human beings, our reality, and that is why we call it reality. What else would we call it? But it is not certain that it is the reality with a capital R. And the next piece is called religion and science. Science is something else than religion. Science is true about how reality life is. That is, how it looks from the tip of our nose. Religion is our opinions about the meaning of life. Religion tries to answer the question why our reality life is. For science, it is a meaningless question to which there is no answer at all apart from what we ourselves invent. If there is a true answer to why we are here, it would also require that I can get outside the universe and from there see the meaning of it all. And that is again the same as being the God that science does not recognize. And the next piece is called Christianity and Science. Christianity agrees with science. No human being can find the answer to why we live for themselves. That is, find God for ourselves. If I find God by myself, then science is right that it is a God that only exists in my imagination. But Christianity disagrees with science that God does not exist. God does exist. He is outside the universe and therefore out of our reach. We live in time and space. God lives in eternity and infinity. Science is true, yet God has created everything and has everything in the palm of his hand. We just can't see it. Just as Jesus is a man for science and also the Son of God for Christians, so the universe is governed by the laws of nature for science, also governed by God for Christians. The universe is both created by the laws of nature and created by God, both at the same time, even though it is impossible. Not a sparrow falls to the ground without it being God's will. God sits outside of it all at the keys to the universe's great computer, but science can never figure that out. God governs so that it appears as if everything is governed by natural laws. That's how smart God is. He cannot be revealed. God is invisible until he himself reveals himself to us, and his works are invisible until he gives us a glimpse of it, until he gives us eyes to see it. That is the Holy Spirit. Is there nothing we can call good and evil? That is the title of the next part. And you noticed that sentence, as I also have mentioned earlier, I'm sure. It is a provocative sentence. There is nothing we can call good and evil. That is basically true if science is right that there is no meaning to life. However, no one in their right mind will subscribe to that, not even a hardcore scientist. We are all, including scientists, suspicious of the claim that there is no meaning to life, even though that is what science forces us to believe. We all sense that it is a big lie, that there is no difference between good and evil. Even though we cannot see God, we can sense God, all of us, because we are created by God. Oops! A Christian sentence crept into the science section. Sorry. But sometimes we even almost know it for sure. When you have your first child, you will experience it as incredibly good, even though it can all be explained scientifically. You'll know that you have been given a gift by God, from God. And if the same child is killed by a hit-and-run driver at the age of 12, you will experience it as incredibly evil. Even though it can all be explained scientifically, you'll curse God. Of course, science does not explain away the fact that we humans feel that we know the difference between good and evil. But science excuses it by saying that these feelings are a result of the process that has resulted in the current existence of the animal human on the planet Earth. Humans need these feelings in order to survive, and that is why they have evolved. The fact that we know something about good and evil is not denied by science. Therefore, my statement from before is in a way unfair to science. Sorry, science. On the other hand, the sentence is fair enough. Seen through the great glasses of science, good and evil is only something that happens to exist by coincidence in a random human animal on the random planet Earth at this random time. If it did not benefit our survival, we would not have conscience to tell us about good and evil. And the chapter ends with the words that can describe the meaning that science tells us about ourselves. God is dead and the fittest survives. That is the end of chapter 2 from me, Thorkil Sohn. I am the former headmaster of a boarding school, a private boarding school in Denmark for teenagers, and I have used this text sometimes to teach my pupils. It is not my pupils, they are adults now, to teach them about Christianity, of course in Danish, and that gives me an opportunity to excuse for my bad English and my bad translation. It is not my native language. And then I'll tell my address, name and address. It is Thorkil Sohn, Bildtsvej 26 in a city called Ringkøbing, Denmark. We should never put anything publica on the internet without revealing ourselves.